I think they'll be looking to add another bullet to their tally today on the Imey.
Great stuff. And in the 13ft skiffs, it's all been one-way traffic with the Harkin.
Had a good skipper in the first race.
In their dominance, and had an exceptional skipper in their first race, but being Jess Isles, but they've got a new team today. So
yeah,
what are we looking at there, Jess, with those results?
Yeah, I spoke to Orlando in the boat park this morning, and he seemed a bit nervous with a few big guns from his sponsors watching in Harkin. Heidi, their normal skipper, is off at the 29er States today, so instead he's got Goro Tomashima. Orlando and Goro have sailed together a few times in 29ers before, so I've got my confidence on them. They're both great sailors, they know what they're doing. So yeah, they've won all 3 races so far, so I can understand why they're a bit nervous to try and pull that off again today with 2 more races.
And having the CEO of Harkin out on the water watching them, that's Bill Goggins from Harkin in the US is out watching them, so I'm sure that they'll be very nervous.
Yeah, they're also the current Australian champions. They had a really, really great regatta up at Harvey Bay earlier this year. In second place in the 13s is Ebix with Gemma Hopkins. Third place, Imey with Ollie Ross. Other boats that did pretty well at the Nationals is the Kitchen Maker. They're down in 9th place, but Taylor Lees has improved incredibly this season, so hopefully she'll be back up there again today.
I think she's down at the Flying 11 States, up at the Flying 11 States.
Yeah.
They're at Belmont, aren't they?
And we've got Ruby from down at St George coming up to sail. I think it's her second time steering one, so bit of a fruity day for her, but we'll see how she goes.
Yeah.
Very good. So, as you can see, we're in sequence. Sorry for the viewers that we had a bit of an audio issue, which is now fixed. So, happy days. This is a 4-minute sound signal just went. So, our time is a little bit out. We don't have the luxury of the Vicara system that we use in the 18s here, so it's all via verbal correspondence. And
the board should pull their finger out, I reckon, Jimmy. Get it on board. Aren't you on the board?
I am on the board, and it has been discussed, Paulie, but the focus of the board at the moment is trying to build the fleet of skiffs both here and down at St George to a combined total of 90 boats. So, be pretty cool if we get to that, and that's where our main focus is at the moment.
So if we have a look up this course, Jess, what are you seeing? I've sort of got this start line a bit further up than usual, which will make it a little bit different. But which way do you think you'd be heading, and which end of this start line do you like?
Yeah, well, normally in a typical nor'easter, boats like to start at the pin and try and hit the rocks pretty quickly, but not going too far into the rocks over there in the distance that we can see, because you can get a bit of a wind shadow there. But it does get very competitive over on that left-hand side of the start line. So I would expect to see a few boats tack out early off the start, try and find some clear air, and then make their way back into the rocks a bit further up.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that left-hand side's still going to pay, but as you said earlier, there's a bit more north in this breeze today, and you get that wind shadow over the hill a little bit more. So that if you time it wrong and go too deep into that corner, you can get in a world of pain. I still think, though, you get a bit of backwash off the rocks behind us, off Middle Head, and it's always a nice way just to ride those waves and get a bit of a high groove and see if you can get in there. And then depending on where the top mark is, you've either got to pick to go right across or stick to the rocks up the shore. So it's always a bit that I struggle with when we've got this mark halfway up.
Yeah, and I think particularly today the start's going to be super important. Our legs aren't very long, so boats are going to have to really get high off that start line, compete really hard so they can get some clear air, because otherwise you just spend the whole first work fighting for clear air, which I've been there too many times to say it's joyful, and you just get in a bad mood for the race. And
I think we might see a few of the big names try and blast off the pin. Easiest way to clear their air pretty quick is just to reach around everybody, and then a couple of the others try and do the high groove off the boat. Midline is a bit of a hard zone in these ones.
Yeah, so on the screen there you can see right at the bottom in the middle, that's our pin boat. So we're very lucky to have an actual boat for our pin, so we can sight both sides of the line. So yeah, glad that we've got so many amazing volunteers that can fill all these spots for us.
Minute 13 to go, though. Looks like everybody's being pretty relaxed here, not pushing too hard. Red pumps push forward the furthest there, sort of looking for about a midline start. And then a few of the big names sort of lining up down at that pin end. Few rock stars joining us today as well on the boats. We've got the big rooster, Brett Davis, down from Belmont, sailing on the Botany Scaffold with tickets, Jared, back on the stick. Oh, I think they could be a surprise package today with those two. They've done a lot of sailing together. We all know Rooster's very, very good in this sort of up-range stuff, so I'd be expecting them to look really nice. Overall for a win though in this first one, Jess, what are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I know boats don't really like us picking too well, but so not to win, but expecting to do well. I think Imi will be fighting pretty hard today with a bit of catch-up to do. I also think Moonin will be fighting hard as well.
Yeah.
We've also got an interesting combination on Botany Access today with Michael Child's regular crew, but Ryan Wilmot and Will Dargaville stepping in. So,
I think they could be super quick.
yeah, I think so too. All right.
2 seconds to go. Everyone's looking pretty well behaved. Lovely start from Red Pumps Red at the top of the line. With it looked like the Botany Scaffold winning the pin and taking that low road that we were talking about just before. And another nice start. Ruffy's finally got off a start line for the first time in his life. And he's actually bow forward on some people, which I'm very proud of. So look for him to try and get out of there. But really, we've got those three. If we're having a look, three of the big names are really stuck together there with the Imi, Imagine and Moonin.
Yeah, I think Red Pumps Red have done extremely well at the start line. They've got a really high groove at the moment, and they
don't have to worry about anyone else there either, do they,
exactly.
Jess?
Yeah, and as we said, with that wind shadow under the point, it looks like they're heading high enough that they might skip out on most of that.
And I reckon those guys that went off the pin, I'm a bit worried that they're going to run out a bit of pressure in here too.
Yeah.
It's always really nice to be able to pick your own lane out of here and just get on the front edge of a gust when you tack, and you can really squeeze into it, and then you start linking up those lines. So if you get boxed in and you can't take the line, you come out in a header and you go in on a header, and it's not much fun.
Yeah, and I think boats will really push hard to try to get people across as much as possible. No one's going to want to tack until they have to, but of course, boats tacking on port will have to give way, so got a lot of decisions to make in not a lot of time here.
As we're looking at it there, we've got the Red Pumps, which I think they're in quite a good position, but they seem to have bent down a little bit coming across here, Jess.
Yeah, I
And it
agree.
looks like these pin boats are just getting a bit further bow forward on everybody. It's just going to be how confident you are in your tack here, isn't it? If you think you can cross, a good tack could shoot you straight in front of everybody.
Yeah, I think Red Pumps tacking out early there might have been a good call, just to try and stay in some clear air. They've managed to get across pretty nicely and only just crossing behind Red Pumps Red, as we can see on camera there.
I'm liking the pressure that Moonin and Imagine signage is coming into here. I'm picking Imagine will tack under his bow, and they're going to get a nice lift around this point. As we said, Imagine tacks just below. And if we see, it was the boats who were about 3/4 of the way down the line that were looked to be leading this race, and they're in that position that I always quite like to be in a nor'easter, closest to the point. And you get the nice ones that just wrap around this point and get a nice lift out. So I could see the rich getting richer here with Moonin and Imagine.
Am I imagining something, or is there not modern concept constructions out here?
I have not seen them.
No.
I saw them on the beach. They were rigging up. You know, they were the form boat for the first 4 races of the Nationals. I think they went bullet, didn't they? Almost looking unbeatable. I've had that position before myself and managed to lose, so it's not the most fun. But this is kind of their weather too, isn't it, Jimmy? They seem to do well in this sort of up-range stuff. They've got Big Chris swinging it down, and they like that low fast mode, which sort of suits them. So I think they'll be a bit disappointed that they're not here. I think anybody not sailing today would be pretty disappointed. It's a glamorous day.
Hopefully whatever it is in terminal for the day, and they can at least get out here for the second race if that is the case.
Yeah, I agree. So we just see here all the boats heading across on port. There seems to have been a little bit of a right shift as they're coming out this way, with Imagine being able to reach around the bow of pinch around the bow of Moonin.
Yeah, I think Moonin just then had to maybe duck slightly to get under that yacht coming across on starboard, so they just tacked out now. I think they might be a bit disappointed with that, but still fighting for clear air. We know they're good at making quick decisions and keeping things under control.
Yacht's coming back for round 2 with them by the looks of it.
Yes.
Oh, that's
now that's close.
It's a little bit tight. Well done, Ruffy and the boys. And now this yacht's he's going to getting a little bit stuck.
Yeah, that's something that at Manly we do have to always consider. There's plenty of boats. It's a popular place to sail, and our sailors just have to get on and deal with it. So,
well, I think Chintz, our producer back there, gave it the kiss of death before the race started, saying how clear the harbour was.
Yeah.
And we seem to have started this race, and there's a whole fleet of yachts coming through us. So, thank Chintz for that one, Ruff.
I think what we'll start to see now with these boats on screen is they really like to get as close into that shoreline as possible.
Yep.
I think, Paula, you mentioned before, there's nice lifts that you get off the shoreline, so we can see them fighting and pushing as fast as they can.
Well, there's that botany scaffold got in front of the moon, and just there. They're not pushing it too hard on those rocks at the moment, though. You know, I've sort of remember when Flying 11's out here, Ben Bianco, when he was coaching me, used to tell me you should be able to touch it, the rock, when you pop out the other side. He was also the one that taught me how to ride a bow wave of a ferry, so I don't know if it's a smart thing.
Benny and his wisdom.
Him and Glenn, wizards. We seem to have the sort of top 3 boats. We've got Imagine pushing back into that shore, and the Moon and the botany scaffold. Moon must have done a very nice tack there, and they've managed to lead them back across. They look like they're coming into some nice pressure as I look out the window. I think it's going to be tight between Moon and Imagine at this top mark. I'm trying to get my eyes on this top mark. Is it a long way up?
Yeah, it looks like our top mark's a long way up, so they're sending them all the way in. I think that'll be down for some really interesting racing. So we've got the nice pressure out near where the start line was, but now these boats are falling into calmer water. Pressure eases off, so they'll have to be adjusting gear and changing the way they sail slightly to keep fast.
For us sheet hands that only pull one rope, Jess, what does the skipper have to do at this time?
Tell the sheet hand to work harder.
Yeah, so generally what I remember when we used to be coming up into this area, you really got to change gears. You come into the flat water, so you don't need as much drive. So you flatten everything out a little bit, and depending on how shifty it looks, sometimes you might stomp a bit of board down as you get through through a couple of these tacks, if you feel you're not holding that high line. We haven't been going up this far lately, though, have we, with the top marks? It'll be a bit of a change for everybody. Traditionally, you want to get into this right-hand side, sort of hit the toilet roll or Kilburn Towers, and look for like the big right-handers coming out of the club, but they all with a bit of north in it. Sometimes the left can pay as well. So I'm not going to put my name to it because it's always wrong. But I like where I'd sort of be pushing right.
Yeah, interesting. It's not a course that sailors are used to sailing, so they're going to have to really be thinking on their feet here. And I think a lot of sailors just go around doing what they did last week, and hopefully that formula works again, which it can quite often in a nor'easter, but not today.
This is more the traditional nor'east course, isn't it, with the top mark up in Manly?
Yeah.
Sort of makes sense why they started in the middle of the harbour, because they're going so much further up. The course is a bit longer than we expected.
Yes.
Well, the other good thing too is all the people back at the club that are supporters and watching it back there, they'll actually be able to look over their shoulder in a minute or two and see all these boats coming around the top mark.
So I should be on the deck drinking schooners, eh, Jimmy?
No, Paulie, you're in the right place. There's Brad Davis on screen.
There's big Brad Davis with the sausage fingers. Very, very good sheet hand. Won a Nationals with on the Typhoon, didn't he? No.
Yes.
Was it the Typhoon?
Oh, the Ronston.
The Ronston with Nathan and Mal on these waters 3 or 4 years ago.
And he won a title many years ago with Greg Sarant and Steve Newell on luxury yachts.
Up in Brisbane?
Up in Brisbane.
The one that was nuking the whole time?
It was nuking like you would not believe. It was.
He's one of the best sheet hands in terms of boat handling, making the thing go quick in a bit of pressure. The thing will be bolt upright the whole time, and he works extremely hard, which in these kind of conditions is what gets you the speed upwind and gets you your height, which is the big passing manoeuvre. On screen there we got the Moonin, though. They've sort of, I think, had a hard look at themselves. They had, by their stakes, sort of a disappointing year to date, I'd say. Normally they like to grab a title here and there. Sort of being out of contention for a lot of the Nationals. I know that they're looking forward to bouncing back, especially after Ruffy's away in Japan last week, and little rock star called Harry Price from the 18s came and jumped on and cleaned up the Botany Bay Championship.
Mate did an amazing job too. It was incredible to watch.
I mean, he's going. Harry's doing very well at the moment and everything. But it is just good to know that they did have Gus Williams in the bow last week, and he said that it was all him. So.
Yeah, you can see the way they're sailing there. That tack was just really smooth, both crew coming through at the same time, flattening the boat out just in time, but not too much, really keeping the boat well balanced. Looks like they've just putting themselves a nice loose cover on the rest of the fleet, and in a matter of however long we've been sailing, not that long, they've really extended nicely. So hopefully they're feeling pretty good about where they are, but it's a 3-lap race and we're only 1/6 of the way through so far.
Yeah, so
Pays to be a maths teacher, doesn't it?
so it's you can just see here on screen as well, everyone's pulled themselves up on wires for this transition zone that Jess was talking about earlier. So at this point it's really about trying to keep your boat moving and not sacrifice too much height, but staying smooth, because if you jump around in this stuff, the boat stops pretty quick. But yeah, what would you say, Jess? They've got a good 10 boat length lead, but as we can see, they've just hit the hole with the boat in front of them, boat behind in a full stringing. They catch up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think interesting, Lo, in that distance there we can see Imagine coming out of the left, so maybe they haven't got as much of a lead as we thought they did.
Oh, I think they've got quite a good gap there.
Yeah.
I think they're right, hey, Jess.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Thanks, Captain Hindsight.
It's the first time for everything.
Yeah, so we'll see the decision that they make. What do you think, Paulie? Do you reckon they'll set straight away or do a jibe set here?
Look, doesn't look... It's a tough one. I'd be jibe setting.
Yeah,
The
me too.
the hard thing here is that we've got quite a few boats coming up on port, so you just got to keep your eyes out of the boat. The worst thing that can happen here is you pick up one of these port tackers coming up underneath your spinnaker.
Yeah, and especially with these kites, you don't have a lot of visibility.
Oh, skippers can see heaps.
Oh. Only if we're looking.
So there we go, Brett and Jared on the Botany, round in second, with Imagine close behind. And there's a bit of a gap there.
I think the forward end on board the Botany Skiff, I would be pretty chuffed that he's beating his old man around the course, being KB Napa.
Yeah. The tallest man in the fleet, pretty much, isn't he, these days?
He's incredibly tall.
And then coming in next, our national champion on the IME. Managed to work their way back through the fleet quite well after sort of a second row start there. So we know Rob will have a bit between his teeth here, trying to catch up to Kobe. Davis Marine and Red Pumps Red, with the rockstar Ben Lamb on the sheet today. Everyone's sort of going for this jibe set that you said too, Jess.
Yeah, I think they're doing a nice job. Most of them have windward sets because they've set themselves up for a port rounding, and with a jibe set, it's now a windward set, so you've just got to keep the boat nice and deep so that spinnaker can pop as the tack gets pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course at the same time you've got to keep an eye over your shoulder, because if someone jibes inside you, you don't want them covering you.
I also sometimes get a bit worried with the jibe set, especially where we've got such a long runway coming in on starboard.
Yes.
That if you come in, you can almost sit in the hull of the upwind boats and you get this little pocket up here, whereas if you extend out on starboard for any of the younger ones doing, you can often get that gap, and just a little bit further down you get a bit more clear air, and you can sort of what the fluid's trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's what Imagine and Botany did round the top as well. They left it a little bit longer and jibed pretty soon after that.
You can really see that there actually is just a big light patch there where all the people coming into the top mark have killed all the air. And also we've got these yachts running downhill with us here now, so they can always cause a bit of a headache to get over them, hold you up on your jibes. On screen there we've got the Moonin, even with the early jibe, seems to have been able to push down onto the line of Imagine. And then the IME seems to have clicked into another gear here again. Actually no, the Moonin's right down on the shore, they've taken off.
Yeah, so we might see if we can get a bit of action of the 13-foot skiffs coming upwind through the 16s at the moment.
Yeah. Where's that? does look a little bit business as usual in the 13s there with the Harkin. Actually, no, a bit tighter. These boats out the right are looking quite good, aren't they, Jess?
Yeah, so it looks like Harkin have followed same route out to the left as the 16s did, with Imi also doing really well on the 13-foot skiffs.
When you were sailing the 13s, Jess, was it something, because you do start afterwards, did you used to look and see where you sort of know who the top 16 guys are, where they were going?
Yeah, definitely.
And also you can sort of watch, hey, the bloke who started off the pins cross the whole fleet, I've got to get down there.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the advantage of watching a whole fleet of really talented sailors go before you, of course we were watching and learning and trying to do as much as we could.
I know there was a few of the 13 people that we used to watch where they were going because we thought they knew more than us, to tell you the truth. So on screen here we got the Moonin, my little buddy Ruffy. He is one of the smoothest skippers in the world downhill. So I think we say every time, he does tend to extend away, especially in these a bit windier conditions. However, he doesn't have Matt Stenner on the bow today. The absolute machine. He's got, is it Max Paul? Or, yeah. No, it's not Max Paul. It is Finn Rodriguez. I think he sails one of the 18s, doesn't he?
Absolutely, mate.
He's with Harry.
Yes, he's the unforgotten sailor on board the Radigan Famish with Max and Max.
I'm assuming he's the guy at the front that does all the work.
He got a birthday win last Sunday, so.
Well, I mean, not a bad man to sub in for Matt Stenner, I don't think. I mean, I consider him one of the best out there, but if you can get a bloke who hasn't lost a race in an 18 this year in the bow, you're pretty happy. So here we see they're setting up for a jibe.
Yeah, so for those who might be tuning in and aren't familiar with our courses, we have a gate at the bottom, so 2 marks that boats can choose to go around. I'm predicting that most boats would like to get out to the left-hand side of the course, so they'll be choosing this starboard routing at the bottom.
Mooning around, doing exactly as Jess said, right-hand turn at the bottom, extending out to that left-hand side. With imagine choosing to go around the left one, could have been they were just a bit close behind Moonin. With father and son in the bow of the Ivy and the Botany almost rounding opposite marks at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our top 4 boats, we've got 2 around the starboard mark and 2 around the port mark, so it'll be good to see how this plays out when they meet again.
Well, it sort of feels like it's in a similar position to the start. So you'd have to say that, from what we saw, Jess, that left-hand side's probably going to pay.
Yeah.
However, as we see, the Imagine's just tacked here, and as I said, sometimes a little bit further out.
Shebang, they're down.
Oh, well, you're hoping for carnage, Paulie. There you go.
Well, Coach King's not on there today, so I'm a little bit disappointed. I love seeing Kingy swim. But you get a few runners if you do that side, and you can sort of get them underneath your stern if you do this left-hand turn at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think boats are also getting used to picking a better ley line today with a bit more north in the breeze. They're probably jibing in a different spot to what they're used to.
Yeah.
Our first 4 boats picked a really perfect ley line. They went straight through the gate mark at the bottom, but everyone else coming down is probably have jibed a bit early.
It's a lot easier when you're out the front, though. You don't have to worry about as much. Because especially with these gates, you don't know if someone's going left, they're going right. It can all get a little bit confusing sometimes. So coming into the Botany, Access has made some big moves down here. They've got Ryan Wilmont, Big Will Dargaville on the boat today. So lots of riding moment. Will is a big boy. But here we go, they've just jibed.
Bit of a struggle to jibe there.
Not looking too good there.
Yeah, they just seemed to leave it a bit too late going through that jibe. Perhaps they were trying to pack the kite and weren't all super ready to go.
So we're just going to our top shot here. This is sort of mid-fleet coming round.
Yes, that's fluid. That's the Typhoon in a bit of a pickle at the that bottom mark with
Fast Eddie's not on the boat today, is he, Jimmy?
No, he's up in Thailand doing the Bay Regatta with Ant King.
I saw he had a flag that he sort of won. Did they clean up?
Yeah, they're making the podium each day.
Yeah. So here we go, coming around there, Typhoon, with closely followed by, I'm trying to make it out.
It's Red Concrete.
Red Pumps Red?
No, Red Concrete, Paul. It's a new sponsorship. Used to be the old Fireball.
Oh, okay.
So another division of
is it another
Greg Windus's empire of Red Pumps.
Yeah, we do a few middle harbour boats out here today, so I think that shed with the blue kite, that's the middle harbour boat. So it's great to see them out on the water, but not our competitors today.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it looks like both boats are following similar procedure to the last upwind, coming out to this left-hand side of the course.
Yeah. Looks like Imy's sort of... Well, Imy's coming in to have another second bite at this point. But the Moonan's extending out to that right-hand side here. I think... I'm not... course management here from the Moonan. I'm not too... I mean, he must see something, but he's let some people get inside him. It's not the classic stay between the next mark and your competition. With a nice gap that he had, I'm quite surprised that Rugby actually let that happen.
Yeah, I'm interested by that too, particularly when they're tacking with a bit more north in the breeze. Going to be pointing a bit lower, but maybe that was part of the plan, just trying to get a bit further out before tacking in, and then they can get further into this point.
So off screen, but just a quick update for the 13s. Okay, perfect. We're just sending the drone up there to have a look, but before we get there, the Imy's leading.
In the 13s.
In the 13s, sorry. And then, is that Cybertech Group in second?
Yeah, with Harkin in third.
Harkin in third. MCC close behind then. And is that the Sail Media boat with the red shoe, Jimmy?
Yeah, it is indeed, mate.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, there's our 13-foot skiff Imy on screen now.
They've got a very nice lead, don't they, Jess?
They've got a really nice line of breeze here too.
Yeah.
They've been out training even after the Nationals, which is incredible to see. They're not
Training.
going. I know, Paul, it's a foreign thing to you, but they've been out, and so's the Harkin. They go out every Friday, even after the Nationals, which is went out and talked to Orlando last night off the Harkin, and he was saying that gives them something to do. And if they've got any boat maintenance, they do that, and then they're there anyway, so they go out for a sail.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it's really great. And look, I know Nationals is what most boats kind of aim for in the season, and then training drops off after. But if they're keen to do well in our club championships and they're keen to do well next season, the training shouldn't stop, so good on them.
I think it's also really good, especially because they're a bit younger. That part you said, the boat maintenance, I think you sort of realise that these boats, the loads are high from when you're in a junior boat and stuff like that, and things break, and that's how you lose regattas often. So getting in that process for any of the young guys and going out there, making sure everything's right, spending a bit of time, making sure all your systems work, all your ropes are running freely, makes it easier to sail, number one. But also you don't have that worry in your head, we forgot to look at that. Test it all out on a Friday before a Saturday is really handy. Yeah,
and it's also really great to take ownership of your own boat and do the work, put in the effort, and then when you do well, it feels so much better. Yeah, so on screen now we've got Imagine, who have tacked off the shoreline, and they've seem to have a really nice line of breeze out here at the moment.
It's really tightened up the front of this fleet though, hasn't it, Jess?
Yeah.
We sort of see they've brought Moonan back into the pack here, and they're about to have a cross close with Imy. These top four boats do seem to have gapped out a little bit.
The two that are coming back into it, just off screen, is
the Red Pumps Red.
Davis Marine and Red Pumps, the main Red Pumps. The Red Pumps Red is still just hanging on. That's the Red Pumps Red there on screen.
Yeah, I think sometimes what can happen is the top three, top four boats can often be fighting it out with each other, and then if you're a little bit further back, you've got a bit of clear air sailing on your own, and that's your time to fight and try and catch up.
It's always, I find too, if you are a little bit deep, you find if you are one of these top four boats, you can really push up to the back of the guys that you think that you are. To actually push through them is the really difficult part. Because then, as you said, Jess, you're sailing in your clear air, you catch up, and then you hit that wall of the guys in front, and you can't do too much. And that's when you get forced to make decisions you don't normally want to do.
Yeah, so on screen just there we saw Imagine cross in front of Moonin, so...
Playing that right-hand side again.
Yeah.
But I think... yeah, I don't mind where... I think Imy could have pushed up into second here as well, possibly.
And there they are on screen now, is the Imy.
With the Moonin across on that far shore, and they look to be sitting a little bit still there. Yeah. However, with the Imagine and the Moonin here, I can tell you one of the worst feelings coming into this top mark in Manly is looking over your shoulder and seeing someone further right than you. You can sometimes they just start climbing and then you tack back in a knock and take their stern. So it's yeah,
there's been many a races won and lost coming up into the finishes up here in Manly and the Nor'easter.
And you just watch someone sail 10 metres away from you straight over the top.
Yeah, and it's very hard to pick, I find.
But to tell you the truth, I think it does look like the Botany Scaffold might be in second, then the Moonin, and then Imy at the moment.
Yeah,
I actually think that there's a bit more pressure in the left up here this time, yes?
Yeah, I think so too. So
Imagine's in quite a good position. Everybody seems to be looking at their stern at the moment, so...
Yeah, Red Pumps Red on screen there, just tucked in a really nice line, so I think they'll have a little bit of catch-up in here. Imagine have just got into a really nice bit of pressure there, so I think they'll hold this up until the top.
Yeah, if you do get in this left, you just got to look for the one coming out of the old ocean well, and if you can get back to that right-hand side, you take it, which is exactly what they've done. But this is the hard way to go up the top end of this course. On port starboard, you're quite happy. So here we go. They'll be looking to set up and tack for this lay soon. Botany Scaffold just coming through now. About to hit a nice line themselves. Should get a nice bit of lifting pressure there and hopefully run into a header in front of them.
Looking over at the beach in the background of that shot, I can't see
the MCC.
The MCC, unfortunately. So
it looks like the door to their trailer's actually open.
Yeah.
They might. This is really quite a close race up the front here. We just said there on screen the Botany Access shuffled past Moonin with a close cross between in the battle of the Nappers coming up, and it looks like
MCC is just going in the water now.
That's why we couldn't see it.
Looking straight down the line of their mainsail. So,
and Big Papa Naps has just got in front of his son, Kobe. So they're really showing their class here. I mean, pushing through the Moonin and the Botany Access here.
Yeah, that's something I've always been really impressed about with Imy is they seem to just be able to keep their cool really well. If they don't have the start they really wanted, they kind of go, okay, it's where we are, and we're just going to keep fighting and work our way back through slowly.
Yeah. And when you've got the machine that's Trent Barnabas on the sheet that doesn't stop working, it does help a lot. And Rob's also, I think we said this last time I was on commentary, he is the fittest I've ever seen him in the probably 20 years I've been sailing against him. Ripping your peck off your body seems to have put him into his rehab mode and got extremely fit.
Yeah, looks like they've put a bit of a gap on the next two who seem to have had a bit of trouble going around that top mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
We'll see, and the Red Pumps Red, you're right, Jimmy, has pushed up into this front five. We've got the Imy jibing on screen. Lovely jibe from them. And the Botany Scaffold getting through nicely as well.
It seemed they fell into a bit of a lull at the top mark and they took a bit longer to get their kite up than what they would have liked. And, yeah.
I think if the Moonin could redo that work, I think they'd like to. They seem to get a bit lost about halfway up the course.
The Botany Scaffold that's not on screen has had to take a bit of an avoiding manoeuvre to go around the back of Typhoon, and the big silver back is swimming behind the bait.
You've got an anchor out.
Yep.
Yeah, not the downwind they would have hoped for.
On screen here, though, the Imagine. Looking very comfortable. They've picked a nice lane down here. Just seeing the little bend there from the boys on the wire, just to try and maybe soak a little bit up to link up a few puffs. And probably also, because they went out a little bit earlier, just to get their bow down in front of the Ivy.
Yeah, I think they've picked a really nice line, these top group of boats. Not jibe setting this time, but taking it down a bit further, and they're now just getting really nicely over this cliff line.
I think there's a little bit of luck when you go around this top mark today as well. If you go around in a bit of pressure, you can sail it all the way down.
Yeah.
If you go around in a light patch, you're sitting there waiting for it to come from behind you, and it generally comes with other boats with it. So we can see some really big gaps extend or close up around this top mark, especially downwind. On screen here, Botany Scaffold. Looks like the red pump's red has managed to push through them. Sailing the boat extremely well. Just going across on screen. 13 foot. So on screen here, Imagine just managed, done their jibe, heading in behind sort of the Bombora there. They'll be looking to pick a nice lane back down to this bottom mark. It'll be interesting to see if they take that left turn again at the bottom, which we sort of didn't think was the right idea last time, but they managed to push through to the lead, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Is it surprising, me getting it wrong?
See with Imagine and these other top boats always keeping the front of their kite just rolling slightly. That's how you know that it's full enough, but not letting it off too much.
It lets you know that your forward hand's working, Jess.
Yes.
They're not just locked it on.
Yeah, forward hands actually work pretty hard downwind, upwind too, but you can see they're always moving forward and back in the boat, trying to get on every wave that they can.
Don't let them know that, Jess. So all these top 5 boats seem to be taking pretty similar routes down the bottom of this course, driving back through the Bombora and looking for a sort of port lane.
So that's Imagine who have extended their lead this time.
Doing a right-hand turn down the bottom.
Yeah, jibe drop at the bottom, keeping things simple and safe and smooth while they've got a bit of a head start.
They've really managed to get a good gap there, though, haven't they? But we've seen these gaps shrink, extend and shrink all throughout the race, a bit like a slinky. And as we said, I think it's just a bit of timing when you go around the bottom mark, what pressure you've got, not much what you can do. Davis Marine, they were pushing up towards, well, they still are actually. They're right on the back of this front batch of 5. We'll be looking to engage in this next work with them, see if they can push forward and hope the others fight a little bit.
Yeah, Army came in pretty tight on that mark, but they've done a really good job setting the kite and really smooth jibe straight into the upwind.
The young pup making the old boys work, you reckon?
Yeah, looks like their forward hand's still in packing the kite, so they'll be working hard until that's all done nicely.
Robbie's favourite call is always a jibe drop. I could never line them up for him, though.
You don't need to be nice, Jimmy. You want to put them under a bit of pressure.
Right, currently in third, we've got Moonen, also doing a jibe drop around this mark.
Those battens across up the top, Gus. And then the red pump's red. We're going to see the difference in the chute systems here. So they've got the chute with a cord, more like the 49ers, those kinds of boats, with the other boats in front of them all done more conventional drops going into a bag.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Red Pump's Red this year. A new crew put together. We know it's a good boat, but they ended up 7th in the Nationals, so I know Zoe was really happy with that.
I think she was first girl skipper too, wasn't she?
Yeah, first girl skipper for second year in a row, I think.
No, I don't think she got it last year. I think
maybe the year before.
I think Sarah might have got the first girl skipper the year before.
Year before that, I think
more so. the female skippers in the fleet, you know, I don't think they deserve their own division now. They seem to beat us most of the time. It should be a first male skipper soon, I reckon, because they seem to be taking over, these girls. Really, I know they run the boat hard. I've sailed with Sarah before. They tell you what you want and work you hard. Here we go, Sutek coming round. So Mikey missed the Botany Bay Championship last week, the skipper of the Sutek. He told me that he's very happy to be out here after he got bitten by a spider, and he's made a miraculous comeback. The boys up the front have said he's just got to sail one or two more races this year, and he might have sailed as many as Ryan Wilmot on the boat. So I think that was a bit of added pressure there for him. And as we can see, James with the luscious locks working the sheet there.
Yeah, these boys have sailed together for a long time now, so
yeah,
I think their crew work is pretty locked in, and we know they have a lot of fun out on the water, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And off the water.
And off the water.
There's Bartley Constructions on the screen.
I will say that their sponsor wants them to do a bit of training now.
Yeah, so the Bartley, so that's my brother on sheet there, who's getting married in a few weeks. So
is he?
I think he might miss the next club championship for that.
Has he had his bucks party yet? I think that'd be a big
Not
weekend.
yet, but I think I might be sailing on that boat when he's off at his bucks.
So we can see here on the Davis Marina's really pushed into the back of this group now, sailing the boat extremely well. They're going to be here. They're going to extend past the Botany. Would have maybe tacked underneath them there myself, because can get a little bit fluky up in here.
Yeah, as you said, Paulie, before the start, they're getting nice little waves behind them, pushing them in. I found I would often get a bit carried away because I'm having so much fun riding waves and not thinking about when is a good spot to tack.
It's the hard one where do I chase it or do I not?
Yeah.
Sometimes you end up reaching around.
Yeah, it's quite an art form to catching the waves and using them to your advantage in the right way. And
a little bit of body movement helps a little bit, doesn't it, Jimmy?
Apparently, mate. I was just not steady on my feet.
I just sometimes had a really sore back foot and I needed to lift it up. Botany on screen here. They've sort of, that little incident with the typhoon at the top has just bumped them back a little bit. They're not really getting that clear air that they had before. And these front two on screen, the Imey and the Imagine, really done a good job at jumping out. And then there's sort of Moonin, sort of stuck between the two groups. It'll be interesting in the next race with the MCC coming into this as well. They should be fresh.
Fresh and probably a little bit angry that they missed the first race too. So, you know, a bit of fire in the belly always helps.
Yeah.
So it's Moonin on screen now, crossing in behind Imey.
I think they might be just a tiny bit disappointed with this. You know, normally in these conditions, we've seen the Moonin guys, when they do get ahead, they really extend away sometimes, don't they, Jimmy? It's either, so it's a 2-minute win for the guys or a second or a third.
Yep.
So
it just shows how close you go to those rocks there.
Yeah. If he still had Steve-O on board, he would have gone closer. It was just a lovely smooth tack. We got a good view from the drone here, having got their sail set up. Ruffy might have a good look at that shot when he gets home. I'd be myself getting a bit more bang into that one. Just looks like he's giving away a bit of power up the top there. Whereas, in comparison, when we have a look at the Imagine, they've got a lot straighter leach down the bottom. And just the top of the sail twisting off there.
And that's probably a really good quick comparison between two, Paulie, to show the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is if you look, sort of losing that mid-leach there, you don't get that drive and the height that you want. Once you build your speed, and you find you just drop out of it a little bit quick. So you sort of feel like you're searching for pressure and you can't squeeze. So I think we're going to try and catch up with the 13, so we're going to be running down to the finish here.
And how close is that there, Paulie, between Cybertech Group and IMI?
Cybertech Group looks like they did a Simo jibe on them there. It looks to be getting the bow forward, pushing for the lead. These are our two leaders. The Harken, looks like they're coming into the top mark now behind them.
It's really great to see the competition in the 13s and that is built over the last few years. I think they had 21 boats at Nationals this year, and I've heard a rumour that potentially Belmont might be introducing some 13-foot skiffs. So
I believe that was discussed at their sailing meeting this morning, that they're going to make it their pathway boat up there.
Yeah, which will be just fantastic because there's such an amazing boat to step into our 16s, and it'll be great for our fleet to have a bit of competition at Belmont as well as the other clubs.
I mean, sailing a 13 at Belmont would be one of the nicest things to do, I think.
Yeah.
In the flat water up there, you can really, it's sort of, because they're a little bit shorter, Manly with a bit of chop can be quite hard to deal with in a 13. Up there, it'd just be glamorous. So here we have the IMI coming up. Just in front of them, Nathan on the Imagine doing what he does best, sort of locking them away and behind them. He is a very hard man to pass once he gets in front.
Yeah, he's got a nice bit of pressure coming down off the top mark there too.
Yeah. He's just tacking here onto the front edge of this gust. It's going to get a little lift and then a knot. They just look really smooth, well, as I say it. Always the way.
See both crew crouching in there, just trying to squeeze every bit of height out of the boat that they can. But coming off the wire is a bit slow, and you want to try and keep your weight off the boat as much as possible. I
think there's quite a good opportunity. Oh, they've come back. The IMI was sailing into a lot of pressure then, and Nathan's decided, I think he's lost a little bit, but just goes, let's lock him away. But he's not on lay yet, so a couple of extra tacks there.
Smart course management, right, Paulie? That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it just shows how important it is to be really confident in your tacks. I think some boats will go, our tacks are too slow, so we'll just stick at it and kind of get through as much as we can. But if you're confident,
you've been on my boat before, Jess.
I've got experience too. Don't worry.
But it's sort of just lock them away. Like you can see the Imagine signage here. They just put the bow down. They're going to make them follow them into this top mark, make them sail on the same pressure. You can't pass somebody if they're between you and the mark. So they did lose out a little bit there. The IMI's made some good gains. Lovely tack on the IMI though, just then. It just seems to be they're sailing slightly different grooves, aren't they? The Imagine's got the low blast through the water. The IMI's got the more delicate sort of high groove that they're working. You can sort of tell just by the amount of main sheet that they've got on. IMI's letting the sails do the work, whilst the Imagine's sort of pushing the boat through the water with the main sheet working super hard.
Cool, so that's our Red Pump's 13-foot skiff about to go around the mark. And as we spoke about last time, each top mark rounding has been different for Imagine. I think they did a jibe set the first one, then straight set the second time, and now they've done another jibe set. So you've really just got to pick what breeze you're in to make a decision on what you're going to do.
So generally when we were doing it, about sort of when you're about 100 to 50 metres out, you start looking at the pressure that's coming down the course and really trying to think how do we get to that first gust that hits us, and which way is that gust longer, and we can stay in it for a more extended period. So the Imagine must have seen one that they thought was going to line up. The IMI's come round in a boomer though and is getting a bit of depth here. And then the Moonen's coming around in an even better one. So I think Ruffy could have extended a little bit there, to tell you the truth, but nice set from the boys on the Moonen.
Yeah, well, we might follow these top three down to the finish.
I think the Moon will be quite happy about the end of that work, though. They didn't. The one before, they sort of seemed to lose a little bit up the top. I think they actually gained a little bit back. Just for the rest of the fleet, I'll look out the window. We got the Red Pumps, Red still in fourth, closely followed by the Botany Scaffold and the Davis Marine hot on their heels. I mean, with a new bowman on the boat, new combination, I think the third they'll be pretty happy with on the Moonin. Little disappointed. You never like leading a race and not winning it. But we'll just see. I think the Army's made a good gain there, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think they came down in a really nice bit of pressure. It's definitely not over till it's over.
We're just in this kind of situation. We've seen them all sort of sail the same course down the bottom, same track down the bottom of this course. For me, the gap is quite large there still. The one would be you try and line up behind them or get a little bit of depth so you can do a jibe on top and possibly take their air.
Yep.
The Simo jibes are the golden passing move downwind in these boats. And you'll often see guys trying to get themselves out of it because if someone's sitting right on your tail, you know they're going to do it and they are going to pass you. There's not much you can do, especially when you can jibe as well as these guys at the top end of the fleet. They're just both a little bit out of sync here, so one of them's going to be right. Another nice jibe there on the Moonin.
So imagine still just in front with a nice bit of pressure off the rocks.
Yeah, they're just not quite close enough to engage the Army here. I think they're going to have to try and do something a little bit different on the course-wise.
Yeah, so they just jog back, I guess, to keep a loose cover on Imee behind them.
We'll see if they go gold here, Jess, and extend out into the middle of the harbour. See if they can get a different bit of breeze. Or if... No, they're following them back in. They do have a nice puff coming over their shoulder and hopefully they get a bit of depth from it. It's really been a tale of two seasons for the Army though, hasn't it? They had their boat worked over. Lee Trev put it all back together, didn't he? And sort of figuring a few things out at the beginning of the year, but now they've really hit their straps. It looks to be sort of the class, they won the Nationals #1. But probably the class boat in the fleet, the way they've sailed today, and sailed back through the fleet and putting pressure on first.
Not over yet, Paulie.
Yeah, they're sort of engaging in a jibing duel here, and well, to be fair, there might be one bloke fitter than Trent out here, and it could be Simon on the Imagine. But this is this situation that we were just talking about before. They are on lay here, which is what you want to do. But we'll just see here if Trent can throw those big shoulders down and get himself far enough up to women. Well, if they do get to that point, expect Nathan to get extremely aggressive on the tiller. I think not over yet. They're pushing hard. Is it the blue mark that is the finish mark, Jimmy?
The blue mark, I believe it is, Paulie.
Yeah, Nathan's definitely not going to make it easy for Imee here, so they've done a good job just getting in front, but a few risky moves, but I guess we trust they know what they're doing.
Well, I think they've gotten their head for the next one too, saying, hey, we come from 2 minutes behind you around the first mark, and you only just got through us. The Imee's sort of saying, if we had to give us another lap, we'd be a minute ahead of you. Coming in behind us, we've got the Moonin coming in for a third. It looks to have kicked a little bit down the bottom end of this course, though.
Yeah, could be an exciting race too.
Sort of filled in all the way across the course. Moonin coming through with a third.
Yeah, and then a bit of a gap before fourth.
Yeah.
Which looks like will be Red Pumps Red. Will to the next boat.
And they've taken a different lane down here to what the top three did. The reason they sort of get in behind Dobroyd Head there is you do get a little bit flatter water. But the Red Pumps Red here's got all the boats behind them locked in straight behind. Why would you go away from that? If you can make them follow you, you do it. So they should have probably 2 more jibes to get to this finish. Let's see how Lambie goes on his jibe. Nice and smooth from the Red Pumps Red. They've made it a bit harder than they needed to here.
Make your life difficult for yourself when you don't need to.
Flogging the chute to get round the front of the start boat. Ben's got his arms above his head.
Be close here for the next two between Botany Scaffold and Davis Marine.
Yeah, Davis Marine have done a really good job catching up on that last downwind.
They're on a good letdown.
Yeah, so that's our purple kite there, Davis Marine, and just in shot, Botany Scaffold.
Bit of a tough decision for them to make. Just going to extend through. Does look like the Botany's still got another jibe that they have to do.
Yeah, I think they'll try and get as close to the finish as possible and then put a quick one in.
Because I think the start boat looks a little bit closer than the pin. Botany coming through now. Nice 5th and a 6th for the Davis Marine. Very well sailed race from them. Really kept on chipping away and pushing forward in this fleet. Probably swing the camera around here and pick up my favourite boat, the Sutek.
What happens when you stop working at Sutek? Is it still going to be your favourite boat? Not that you're stopping working at Sutek.
Don't put ideas in Steve-O's mind.
Steve-O hasn't told you yet.
No, he still needs me, luckily. It's also, that was a boat that I sailed on for an extended period. I think I had one of my best regattas in that one too. I just got a lot of time for it, and I also like the boys on it.
Yeah, no, the boys
They're lovely guys.
Good bunch.
They try and take me and Steve out for lunch every year to say thank you. Somehow I always get to go to these things, even though it's not me sponsoring them, which is always a good time.
So on screen now we've got Nozomi. I don't think they are finishing this race. Can't remember, but I think they were having a bit of trouble at the top mark.
Yeah.
And that yellow kite is a middle harbour boat.
Yeah, I think the Nozomi might have another lap to go. It's good to see the Nozomi back out here, though. I think they missed a couple of races, didn't they, Jess?
Yeah, I think they had a few issues with a bit of damage. So, yeah, great to see them back out. And I think just there, they're just trying to avoid the finish so they don't get in the way.
You're doing the let's trapeze out both sides of the boat. Here we have number 42, the 13-foot skiff coming in.
Which is Better Auto. Abigail, Rolf and Pete Rowe.
Is that in relation to Rolf? President of the club?
No. First name, surname. Paulie.
Thinking.
I think you need to look at the other side of the esky. So here comes the Red Pumps 13-foot skiff, which is Don Rollison and
looks like
Bella
they've got
Davola.
a few issues at the top of their kite there. Doesn't look super quick, but yeah, and great shot there with our Red Pump 16-foot skiff coming down at the same time.
I think they'll be a bit disappointed where they are in this race.
I think so too, yes.
They've sort of been this sort of top-end specialist for the fleet this year. Current state champions. Do they have a little rig on?
Doesn't look little, mate. If it's little, it's...
They've got the big... Do they run the big cuff on both mains?
I think they do, mate.
Cheeky.
Yeah, Bartley 13 followed by Fluid Building 13. Oh, sorry.
Followed by Fluid as well.
Yes.
Two Fluids finishing it.
It's the Fluid boat today. They've got Steve Bowen on the sheet with sailing with his brother. I had a chat to them beforehand. This is the first time that these three, them, Berkey and Steve with Clint have sailed together for 30 years.
There you go.
The last boat that they had was called Unsponsored Pink Bits, I believe, which is a name I don't think you get away with these days, to tell you the truth. So. But they're actually quite excited about it. I would be very surprised if they sail the second race. Steve has a one-race policy.
Here comes the mighty Typhoon with the Imagine signage spinnaker.
So I believe Jubes is steering that boat today. Good to see him back on the
helm.
Yeah. It's sort of all spaced out a little bit at the back end of this, hasn't it? These conditions, I think, have got the better of a couple of people. Just sort of pushing up into that top range, big rig kind of stuff that, generally we're seeing everybody change down a lot earlier than what we're used to, what we used to back in the day. So sort of juicing up their little rigs, and they don't really sail around in these 18 knots big rig stuff too much anymore.
And there's the Musto 16-foot skiff coming in for a finish.
And then the Shebang getting through a jibe. Not sure who's steering that today. I believe Ant's away.
I think it's Jamie King who's steering that, from what I heard around the track.
Nice.
With Brent Dennis and Lewis Tilly.
Oh, just off screen. Fire stopping, losing their halyard.
Yeah, I think maybe they did that on purpose.
Don't
Potentially.
think so.
Oh, no, I misread the mark. I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Very nice of you, Jess.
Mate, I've only ever seen one bloke do the drop the halyard thing probably in the last 10 years. And it is
Forgotten dark art.
It's the little master Lee Napton at Drummoyne. Managed to sneak around a point with the spinnaker skirting across the water. It's not something I was ever game to try. Swing harder, make your bowman work.
Yeah, we've got red concrete just crossing the line.
So how many red pumps boats have we got out here now?
I think there's four. Aren't there?
It
One
is.
13 and 3 16s.
They call him the Admiral because he's got flying 11s, Manly Juniors. He's got the big personal vessel.
It's pretty amazing. It's a great thing to see. Someone who's willing to invest in other people. We often do see in the 16s a lot of people have got their sailing boats that sort of sponsored or linked closely to them. Greg just seems to be really happy to have more boats out on the water, which is an amazing thing.
There's Shebang doing the Shebang thing.
They've done a little bit of swimming today, haven't they, already?
Yes.
Well, I think it's the boat. I don't think it's Ant or Jamie now. I think it's the boat.
Well, me and Steve sailed with Ant at the beginning of the season, and we had a few swimming lessons. So I'm glad to hear that it's the boat.
So not long now until we'll be getting into race 6.
Yeah, so race 6 looks like instead of leeward finishes, we'll be having windward finishes. So a windward 3 for our 16-foot skiffs and a windward finish 2 laps for our 13-foot skiffs. So that means our 13s are only going to get 1 downwind this time. Yeah, it just means our boats finish closer to the club. We wouldn't want to make them do any extra sailing than they need to because it's a club championship and free beers after.
I remember I think the last time I sailed a double race day, they finished us in the second race down here and had some very stern words for the race officer afterwards. It's not, you finish and then you look back and you go, I've got so far to go.
Yep.
But they've clicked all that up. But I always used to get confused what the 3s and 2s and stuff meant, but then someone explained it very simply. W3, finish your third time going to windward.
To the top, yes.
It was almost made. Sorry, it was almost made too easy.
Yeah. And then they go to Drummoyne or something and have to sail there and actually learn a course. It gets a little bit harder.
Yeah, as we rode around for our next start, which I think will be fairly soon, it's that point in the season where boats are deciding what they're going to be doing next year. I think there's a few 13s that are looking to sail in a 16 next year, looking to buy boats. And
there's a good boat for sale at the moment, isn't there, Jimmy?
There is a good boat for sale at the moment.
Yeah.
Only
it's won a couple of national titles, I think, hasn't it? Lovingly looked after.
Very lovingly looked after, and still a very quick boat, but time to depart company with the fire stopping after all these years of
so if any
having
of you,
a Devola boat.
Yeah, the last Devola boat, I think it was. It is immaculate. If you're one of the young guys coming into the fleet, into the 16s, I think it'd be one of the best boats you could ever buy. But I think quite a few of these young 13 guys are looking to step up. I saw a few of them in the shed today. They're not small, these guys,
no,
anymore.
Not. And I think that's one of the great things about having really good competition in the 13s is they're keen to stick at it for a few years, and they're waiting until they're kind of big and strong and talented and ready to move on. Looking out for next year.
And they're all lucky enough to sail at Manly, where you get a lot of support.
Yes.
To the board and the whole club in general is doing a great job in encouraging people to keep sailing and trying to make it as easy as possible for them. And then there's also great blokes like Greg Windass, who just seems to like buying people boats, so go hit him up if you want to buy one. I mean, red pumps, a red boat, the fire stopping, it's a match made in heaven, isn't it, Jimmy?
Could be. I'll leave you to work on him this afternoon, Paulie. We'll extend the offer that we had earlier.
So, for this second race, Jess, you think it'll be a bit much the similar kind of track, or do you think this breeze has changed slightly?
Look, it's still an 020 compass bearing, so as far as the race committee are concerned, it hasn't changed much. Marks haven't changed either, so I think boats will be gearing up for something similar, but also a bit more pressure on the course, so that will play into things as well.
I think, from what I saw in the last one, the most important part of this course seems to be the top end.
Yes.
And people getting lost and sort of that traditional getting across to the right and doing it, it does look like there can be a hole there. So it's about trying to get a gust to get you back there and link it up with a nice one coming out of the club. And if you can do that, you can put a big gap on people.
Yeah,
but if you get it wrong, you're going backwards fast.
Yeah, and I think with more pressure at this bottom end of the course, you're kind of working hard, you're concentrating, and then when the breeze eases off a bit, it's a natural instinct to kind of relax slightly, but that's when your brain has got to start kicking into gear and you've got to think harder.
Yeah. It's also about changing gears once you get up there. You know, you think you're going real quick and you don't want to change anything. You've got to stomp that board down. You've got to juice everything up a little bit and, change. Get your Cunningham off and let that bang off a tiny bit, even though it is flatter, and just so that you can cruise through those lulls when you do without stalling out.
Yeah, and I think most of our sailors know that, but it's the ones who are really reactive and are on it and are bothered to do it, and the communication in the boat, maybe skipper's forgotten, as we sometimes do, and that's up to the forward hand to be looking at what's ahead. Communication in the boat is so important in those light, gusty patches of the course.
So we got the on-station flag back up, so we should be getting pretty close to going into sequence soon.
Looks like we've got Hugh Lester on our start boat today helping out. Yeah, someone who's been around sailing for a long time, has a lot of experience on international events as well.
Not a bad bloke to fill in.
No.
So what are you expecting? Much more of the same? Same boats up the top this time, Jimmy?
I think so, mate. Other than MCC that I think are really going to throw down the gauntlet because, from going from a position of leading the club championship to now having to carry did not start until a drop comes in.
Drop should come in today, shouldn't it? 5 races.
It'd be 5 races. I think it does come in today.
Yes, I believe so.
But it's they'll be sailing with a bit between the teeth and really pushing hard here to try and make it happen for them. But
I think for that first race, it was a good race for the Moonin. The 2 boats that were in front of them seem to be a little bit deep, the Red Pumps and the Modern Concept. One of them didn't even start. So it really just makes that top even tighter, and then also brings the Imagine signage back into it as well.
Yeah, and just looking at the results, there's some boats that we would expect to be up there, but potentially didn't start in race 1, so they've got a really big drop of 20 points coming after second race today. So our results will be changing a fair bit.
I think I'd be scared if the Army gets off the start line in this race.
Yep.
I think if they get some clear air early, it could be see you later. So, just especially the way they sailed back through the fleet in that last race. It's extremely difficult to push through those front boats generally, and they did do it quite easily. And I mean, as we said, another lap, and I think they would have won the race. The other dark horse, I think, is the Red Pumps Red, and the other Red Pumps. I think Greg and his team will be looking to right some wrongs from that last race. Tyler, we know, can get a little bit, gets a bit between the teeth and doesn't like losing, so expect them to push really hard in this race.
Yeah, Paulie, talk to us about your pre-race tactics, or maybe pre-race tactics for a top boat. Got about a bit more than 3 minutes to go. What would the good guys be doing at this point?
So generally what we used to like doing is we'd stand up in the boat, and Ruffy was very good in the way that we ran our boat. He'd give us a game plan. So he'd look up the course and go, look, we want to be left, and then he'd say to us, I need you to execute it. So in terms of that, we have our discussion, and if he says he wants to go left, well then we go, is the pin okay for us to start on, or is the boat really favoured, or do we think we're going to run out of air in there? And it's a discussion, and then what would happen is once we get closer to that minute time, the one person on the boat has to take over in terms of positioning on the line. But really, we always did big overall game plan, who you didn't want to start next to as well. Don't start near Jimmy. That was our number one rule. But
I'm a nice guy, Paul.
Just had a very quick low mode in these conditions, Jimmy. And then and then the next one was, once we do start, the biggest thing that we always had was clear air. So if you were slightly deep, we got this from Steve Bowen when we were sailing with him. Sometimes Steve would even make us stop the boat so we could tack out.
Yep.
It was big, just drive, get clear air as soon as you can. Doesn't matter which direction you're going, clear air as soon as possible, and then try and get back to your game plan, working the side of the course which you want to go. But, we never could start, so it didn't really help us too much. Yeah. We like to be third row, and then see what we can do from there.
So plenty of practice getting clear air then.
Yeah. As we see here, minute 43 to go.
Plenty of clear air on row Z for you, Paulie.
Everyone looks a little bit gun shy again, don't they? I mean,
yeah, well, they've probably all also noticed that Hugh Lester is on the start boat, and a bloke that is not afraid to go straight to a black flag if required. I know at the 18s, the last couple of weeks, we've actually had a black flag start just to start with for with Hugh being the PRO there, just to keep them all in the honesty box.
Well, they've got a production team watching them as well. You've got to give the viewers what they want. We don't want to see 20 starts. Minute to go there. I think from the last start too, we saw that it was the Red Pumps Red that was the one that was really pushing off this boat, and they looked really good. And then when they sort of got over to the left, just that little shift, I think I was expecting everybody to be pushing down towards that pin, but
yeah, it looks like Botany Scaffold is furthest left boat at the moment.
As with the last start.
Yep.
They all seem to be sort of pushing for this quarter of the way down midline start. They mustn't think that there's enough runway when you start off the pin and getting locked in there like we said last time. 22 seconds.
Yeah, a fair bit of congestion at the boat end of the line here.
Red Pumps Red again, looking to have a glamour. Could be a little bit early here for some of these boats. Red Pumps.
All right, seems to be a clear start. Rolling start straight into 5 minutes for our 13s. Red Pumps Red, again, really great start off that boat end of the line.
It was a very nice start. I thought they were going for all money there. They managed to stall the boat up.
Yeah, I think Zoe's very good at driving the height when she needs to, so I think she likes to be high off the line, and she knows she can keep on top of everyone if she has to.
She's just a little bit closer to the boats below her here. So last time she did really well in getting that really nice clear air. Botany scaffold again, blasting off the pin with there's almost the same boats directly above them. And then, as Jimmy probably correctly alluded to, the MCC cracking start, working hard. I'd say almost getting pretty close to the lead here.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there, Paulie.
And then just working around the front of the Ivy, who we saw toast everyone in the last race. So the Botany scaffold here, their biggest problem is going to be getting back out with clear air.
Yeah, I think at the moment they've got Moonen not too far behind them, so they'd be trying to work pretty hard if they can get in front of them, so they've got a clear lane to tuck.
Because they sort of, you run the risk here is if you go too far in and everyone thinks you have, they're just going to tack underneath you.
Yes.
Or you tack back and you take 20 sterns and all the hard work that you've done just gets wiped off instantly.
And you're talking a matter of inches, like it's...
Yeah.
Yeah,
coming into here, I mean, we can't see it on screen, but I can see a puff coming around the point, and if I was at Botany, I'd be wanting to get out of there right now, and you can run into just the front edge of that, and you just lift your way through. Well, I would. But I think you'll see the boats that are behind, they're quite happy just to keep on driving people in here.
Yeah, so double tuck there with Botany and Sutek.
The Moonen pushing further in here. They must have. There is a nice little bit of pressure coming out of this bay.
very unusual for that breeze angle of 020 that there's breeze this far up in this bay.
Because sometimes you get the ones up in here, they haven't even hit the water yet.
Yeah.
They've caught the ripples and it catches the top of the rig. You get a bit of a rude shot. MCC pushing hard in here. We just see they've come out. Looks a little bit lighter there, doesn't it? They might have pushed a little bit too far.
Yeah, but they are about to get this pressure that we were talking about.
But they just haven't managed to be two string the whole time like the guys who went out a little bit earlier. And they've got the Army putting a squeeze on them. And we're going to see the two different styles of sailing these boats. The MCC, traditionally low, fast. The Army, speed, but then turns it into height. So we'll see which one wins. So as you can see, the MCC just dropping down. The red pump's red here. So the advantage for the red pump's red there, starting off the boat, it limits that risk about how far they can come in here. They sort of take a nice lane to that western Bombora mark, and there's minimal risk in it.
Yeah, and also being above everyone, you can kind of get a gauge on what everyone below you is doing, so you've got a bit more time to make a decision.
It's all about timing and how far you can get into this point with pressure. And the further in you can get, the better off you generally are. As we can see, the Moonen heading back in for another dig at it. Sort of coming into this point semi at the wrong angle for the boys there. But I think they were not looking too good out to the other side. Traditionally, you like to extend yourself up so you can get a little bit further up the rocks. And there is one rock that sticks out very close to where they are just there. So,
yeah, so it looks like on top of screen there we've got MCC covering IME. So we knew they'd be out here to fight. They've got a bit of catching up to do and looks like they're definitely fighting.
I'm surprised they managed to get there. I must have missed how they got their passing lane just then. Looked like the Army had sort of put the squeeze on them. So it could have been a nice tack. Oh, I'm not too sure. There are our 2 leaders pushing in towards the shoreline.
Yeah, so MCC keeping a nice loose cover over IME.
Looking quick through the water, the MCC here.
Yes. Looks like Moonen have just crossed in front of IME as well.
So we've sort of got a lot of the same players. The Imagine's a little bit further back, but still right in it. The Red Pumps is up in the top group this time, mixing it up, and then so sort of the addition of the Red Pumps and the MCC, who are two of the quicker boats. I think we're going to have a bit more tussling in this race than the last time, where we saw a few big gaps extend out, hopefully. So we're just sort of entering this transition zone of the course here too. And the way that they're going to go about it's really going to determine. It's sort of tough one to pick, I think.
Yeah, I think MCC have made a good choice there. They've seen Moonin and Red Pumps Red down to their left, so they've just decided to go back in, take that breeze, and remembering they didn't sail last race, so they don't have the advantage of knowing what may have worked last time.
Sort of looks like a different racetrack up from the last time we came up here, though, so that could actually be an advantage to them.
Yes, I think so.
So we see the Moonin there. Looks like they've pushed up into second. They've taken a really nice lane off the rocks, and they've managed to stay in pressure, this going hard direction up the top of this course. Port, as we were saying earlier, is the hard way to go. It does look like they're going to link into a nice right-hander up the course there.
Well, that's the hard part in this transition section here, is trying to find a puff that is going to link you up from the Reef Beach side across to Smedley's Point. So, you know, when one does give you the opportunity, you definitely take it. So it's not
the smoothest tack there on the Moonin.
No.
I think that they've sailed this section of the course extremely well. They're about to just glide through this lull. We're on MCC again now. They're pushing hard left. They were probably watching from the beach though, Jess. Saw
That is
who
true,
was
yeah.
going. They might have sat back on the Moonin here, but the Moonins looks like they're going into the most pressure on the course, and it does look to be filling through from further up. I don't mind where they are. I wouldn't. They just look to be slightly headed, unfortunately. I'd be putting the big squeeze on if I was here up and trying to get up into this high line above us. So we can sort of see through the sail there. It's often hard to judge on the screen who's ahead there, isn't it, Jess?
It is, yeah.
But then we get the advantage of looking out the window. I think the MCC is still looking pretty comfortable.
Yeah, and Moonin going out on their own again, tacking back out to the right.
Second bite of the cherry. I actually quite like it. They're keeping clear air and not engaging. You know, I often find, especially up first works, you can turn into a pinball and get bounced around by people. You end up going backwards. Clear air, sail your own race, and hopefully you go the right way.
Yeah, so he'll let the other 6 boats out on the left fight it out on their own, and they're just doing their own thing, and they're in really nice pressure. They've managed to, I think, pick this pretty nicely, so as long as they can keep that as they choose a lay over to the top mark, I think they'll be in a good position.
I think this is going to be tight.
Yeah.
I think it's also just a bit of a consistent one. When you go out the other way, you can engage with boats and sort of squeeze.
Yeah, they're riding some really nice waves back in here too. You can see they're just pushing the height on each little wave that they can. Ruffy's got his body weight further in the boat to let the other boys do what they can out on the whale.
No, Ruffy doesn't lean.
Yeah, so MCC on the right there look like they are leading this race.
It's almost a tale of two courses, isn't it? You can see all the guys bending.
Yeah.
MCC's taking a very skinny lane there.
Yeah,
Very
interesting
skinny.
actually. It looks like someone made a wrong decision perhaps.
Looks like they're going to be able to get up there though.
Yep. Yeah, and they're still hiking hard, so I take back what I said. Well done, boys.
I still think it was skinny, so... We go back to this little roll of the dice. Do we jibe set? Do we extend out a little bit?
Yeah, it looks like they went around that top mark in plenty of pressure, so they'll hold off a bit, get themselves in some clear air out from everyone else coming across the top mark.
They've managed to get a nice little gap here. The Imagines come right back into it. They were a little bit deep early on there.
Yeah,
Managed to work their way back up to third.
Yeah, they've done very well in that last little section. Both of them deciding to jibe set.
All three of them jibe set. Exactly what the MCC had won. Let them fight with each other and let us try and gap out.
Imagine Signage has got to watch out for Davis Marina under their spinnaker there. Just avoided them.
Yeah, and Moonin taking a bit of time to get their kite up. They won't be happy with that.
No. Just looked like it got stuck to the jib on the windward side there.
The battle of the red pumps.
Yeah, it's
them.
Battle of the Dransfields on the red pumps. 1-0 to Zoe so far today. I think the younger brother there was giving her a bit of grief, trying to keep her up and trying to delay their set. But these boats here that have just gone around the mark, they've got that vacuum from the other people. Well, it's almost themselves that have gone upwind.
Yeah, so you can see how high they're pointing, just struggling to find some clear air and trying to push the boats to get any speed. But MCC are way off in the distance on the very right of the camera there. Have chosen a really nice line. They're on their own. I think they're extending pretty nicely.
Jimmy had his crystal ball out. I think we're seeing possibly some of the more experienced, I think it's a nice way of saying experienced people in the fleet. Might be, they're just one race kind of guys. We're seeing the shebang and the fluid off camera extend, look to be winning the race to the bar at the moment. So we're just following down there. Botany scaffold sitting on the back of the two red pumps. With the 4 leaders in front of them.
Yeah, I might just try and lay some eyes out the window on our 13-foot skiffs coming upwind as well. For those following our 13s, it looks like Harkin might be leading this one, with Cybertech Group not too far behind. So on screen there we've got Moonin and MCC in some really nice pressure heading down past the point.
How much do you reckon not sailing the first race in terms of energy levels? You know, it was quite a long first race. How much fresher are you? And how much of a difference do you think it has made?
I think it makes a fair difference, particularly looking at Imagine and Imy finishing that last race. They both put in a lot of jibes before the finish, and it wears you out. So I think they're coming in a lot fresher. They've had time to chat, they've had time to calm themselves down and think about what they're going to do, so
So two things as well for a crew in this race that actually do wear you out the most. You've got to work hard down the bottom here in the pressure, but as we saw at the top, you're having to bend. And I know that I often came in a lot sorer after a light day than a windy day. Bendings, when I had a rule, I don't bend, but it was, it's sort of you using your two big muscles, your legs. On a generally windy day, you don't have to bend ever, and it's actually quite easy. Bending kills you. So the MCC here, the Imy's managed to stay in touch. Which way the MCC here goes? See if the Imy is happy. It looks like everyone's setting up for a right turn, but if the MCC can get them to follow them around, they'll be pretty happy. Yeah, exactly what the MCC wants there.
yeah, so MCC pretty close to this mark, but still setting their kite, squeezing every last little bit of speed out of it as they can.
They're running a chute on that boat too.
Yep, so chute makes the drops a little bit faster.
When you got big Chris on the wire, you can leave someone in for a little bit longer as well, putting it away. They've tightened up though here, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not all going MCC's way, although you know, they were lightning quick upwind, so they're just going to extend here.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine coming around now. Looks like they dropped their kite a bit earlier than what they would have hoped.
Moonin and Imagine going around opposite marks at the same time.
Seems like Moonin are really just happy sailing their own race this time.
Yeah. Well, I think if they had gone around this mark, they would have been sitting behind 3 people as well.
Yeah.
So I think, as we sort of have alluded to earlier, they want to start winning some races, the Moonin, and they're not going to pass these guys following them at the moment.
Yeah, back with the battle of the red pumps. Red pumps red just getting around in front. Bit of a dicey mark rounding.
Oh, Tyler really looking after the boys on that one.
Yeah. So I think they were...
You might have to buy your own beers this afternoon, Tyler. You're not getting the red pumps card.
Yeah, they were pushing pretty hard to get around behind Zoe, and then jibing under pressure is never what you want to do with a big rig in this pressure.
I don't know if either of you two have ever had to pull a spinnaker in through one of these chutes when you're on the side. It is not much fun.
I can't even seem to think of if I ever sailed with a boat with a chute.
I have. They're very nice if you keep the boat upright. Especially when you're a sheet hand, you don't even have to pull a tack line out. It's great.
Well, why didn't I have them on my boat then, Paulie?
Well, half the time I didn't pull the tack line out either.
No, we had a few different systems of the skipper would
Yeah.
pull the first handful to me, I'd stay out on wire and...
No, I just told Matt to do it for me.
That works as well. So
Well,
we'll stay with this battle. It's pretty good up the front.
Yeah.
So MCC first attack.
It's this sort of slightly top end big rig conditions really does play into the way that they like to sail their boat, which is low and fast. And then really trying to work your height off it. I think that's the big change that I've noticed in the MCC this year, watching them. For a little bit there, a couple of seasons, they were just really low, fast, through the water. This year with current stepping on board, they managed to turn that speed into height.
Yeah.
And as we all know, height's what, it's how you pass people. It's a nice being able to tack under someone's bow and squeeze them out. And since they've learned that they seem to, this year they've been really the red pumps have been the class boat in this top end stuff.
Yeah, I think particularly when you first start sailing a 13 and a 16, it's really easy to get carried away with that low groove, and you just go faster and faster and lower, and you're like, wow, look at all this speed. I've never sailed this fast before. And then you're like, oh, I wonder why I'm still not winning when I'm going so fast. But yeah, finding that balance between low and fast and also getting the height is really important.
The important part is that you had fun though, right,
Oh,
Jess?
yeah.
That's all that matters.
It's also, even if you're going out training for any of the younger 13 kids or something watching this back, when you're training by yourself, you always feel like you're going super quick.
Yes.
And then you go out and do recreate on the race course, and you find that you're sailing double the distance to everybody else up the work.
Yeah,
so that's why it's always good to have a nice training partner, as we were saying, the Harkin and the Cybertech and all of that, getting out on a Friday afternoon. That's why we've seen them all progress so quickly.
And before the Nationals, it was incredible. There was like nearly the whole 13-foot fleet out training on a Friday. It was an awesome sight to see.
Yeah. Well, we've got a job just around the corner, and you come past at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. There's all these kids rigging up skiffs. It's quite amazing to see. So the MCC here doing the traditional way of going up this course. I think the actual left turn at the bottom gave the Moonin a bit better approach to this point. It looks to have made a slight gain on a few of them. But the MCC's really just put the bit between the teeth. Do a Mach 10.
Yeah, they picked a really nice line coming into this point as well. You can see they've managed to get a long way left before they've tacked.
Just the angle they're all approaching this shore, it does look like the breeze has just clicked to the right a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're managing to sail up this point, up this shore a little bit further. As we see here, tight cross with Moonin with the middle harbour boat. I think the middle harbour boat was quite nice to them there.
Yeah, I did. I got the window open, obviously, Paulie, but I did hear them call them through. So
very nice.
There's some polite people out here.
we can maybe get a little shot of our 13-foot skiffs coming downwind.
Looks like it's back to...
Yeah, Cybertech group on screen there. Look to be leading with our Harkin not too far behind. And I think Sail Media in third.
Going to Sail Media.
Yeah, great day to be on a 13-foot skiff. I think a few of them found the top side of this course a bit tricky in the first race where the breeze was a bit lighter. It's hard to get your boat going when they're a bit smaller and not as much sail area, but they're sailing really nicely out of there this time.
Just being a little bit lighter the whole hull on the 13. It's harder to glide through those lulls.
Yes.
And you also don't have those two bodies that you can move in. And
yep.
we all know as soon as you unclick from a wire, the whole rig shutters and everything, and it can really just slow you down. Here's the Harkin on screen. Back to where they belong. Up the front of the fleet.
Yeah.
Currently in second though.
Lovely jibe there by the boys on Harkin.
So the Cybertech group has got Lucas Patrick, I believe, steering today. Ash Napper, probably up winning another Flying 11 title somewhere.
Yep, so yeah, Flying 11's up in Belmont this weekend. So on screen now we've got IME 16. Just putting their tack in up to the right side of the course.
Would have been lovely to not have a top mark all the way on the top here today, just out the bottom end of this course.
Yeah, I guess the race committee have done a good job though. We get the fun bit down the bottom, but all the tactics up the top. Yeah. I know what I'd prefer though.
Tactics have never been my strong point, Jess. Boat go fast. So these sort of, it looks like the MCC's extended away here, doesn't it? They are lightning uphill.
Yeah,
Got the Imagine on screen there, just for the viewers at home. They're probably, the MCC's probably got 100 metres on them, straight in front of them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So this is the second time for the top, is it, Jess?
Yeah, second time up, so one more lap after this mark. There's MCC on screen now. They've tacked a nice bit of pressure.
Still a bit perplexed how they're all running cuffs on these big mains. It's generally we used to find we could only put them on the little ones because we ran out of sail area, but might be a question for the old Baz boy. So MCC here, extending across on port. We're going to see behind them the IME pop into shot. I'd say the IME is still in second. There we go, IME popping onto screen. IME's pretty close, well, almost were close to a lay until that happened. We'll see how skinny they take this lay this time, the MCC. IME here is looking pretty good on their lay. The MCC's probably gone another 30 metres past them, so could be a potential game. As we can see there, as we were talking about, just the guys having to bend in and out. When you don't have full weight on the wire in these boats, you just got to really change your whole dynamic of what you're thinking about. It's very easy, as Jess was saying earlier, once we get down pressure, just to start reaching to keep everybody out on wire and stuff like that. It's all you got to still try and stick to your modes and just realise, hey, we're not going to be sitting on the top of the water as much. We do have to change, but we still got to still try and keep the boat moving, but keep some height. And
yeah, and I think that's where the communication's really important. The skipper can feel a lot in the tiller, the sheet can feel a lot through the sail, and then the forward hand's got good view of what's coming, so always talking to each other and making decisions jointly.
Little knee in the back of the forward hand's leg is also a pretty effective way of making them bend.
Yeah, really nicely picked ley line again, so well done to MCC.
I think it'll be rinse and repeat for them here, won't it, Jess? Extend
think
out
so.
a little bit. Do a nice job. Super close with the next boats coming round. If we pan round to the left a little bit, we're going to see Imey closely followed by Imagine Signage. Imagine going for the jibe set. Imey doing a straight set. It's an interesting one from Imey there. When they do the right turn at the bottom, it does allow you to do a jibe set with the spinnaker on the good side. Mm-hmm. So effectively they've done 2 windward sets in this race.
Won't matter after this time. You put it down any side you want.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Chop it loose, Jimmy?
Not how much Baz charges for a spinnaker. You wouldn't be chopping them loose.
Moonen going for the jibe set as well. Moonen's just having a stand up. Oh, we're back on the Imey here.
Yeah, Imey, interesting. Chosen to go much further than the other boats down there.
They're looking to do hot rocks here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just what you need on the last run down to the finish. Really work your forward hand out after he's already done 6 drops. Let's see if we can scrape it across the rocks. I mean, the good thing here, though, is they're doing something different. They're giving themselves an opportunity to pass. They're probably going, the MCC is a rocket upwind. We've got to get them by the bottom if we're going to do it. Otherwise, they're just going to do what they did to us at the last one, stay boxes away and just sail away from us.
But even if Imey stays where they are today, taking away 2 seconds, it's a good day out.
Yeah, definitely.
With the Manly fleet the way it is, I think we had the top 5 at the Nationals, didn't we? It's,
yeah, we did.
If you get 2 top 3s, I think you're pretty happy in a day here. It also sort of wins the day too, doesn't it? If Imagine ends up with a first and a third, you got 2 seconds. You're on equal points. So here we are with the leaders again, MCC. You can just see there's just that little bit of bending. You can see Chris walking up and down the boat trying to keep that 4.5 trim right as well. There's a bit of a pleasure cruiser in front of them, having a bit of a chat.
Yeah, so it looks like they did have to bend in there and head a bit lower to try and keep clear.
I think Chris was very nice when he asked him to get out of his way there, I reckon.
Polite words were exchanged.
They're working hard down here, the MCC. A lot of movement up and down the gunnels.
I'll tell you what though, the Imey, we're going to see this cross shortly with MCC. They are in a huge puff right on those rocks. So
the hot rocks, do you reckon, paid off, Jimmy?
I think they might have. Well, definitely brought Imey closer to them, but MCC were smart enough to drive right on the front edge of this, so it's shaping up nice for them.
In the Imey here, you're hoping the MCC tries to jibe underneath you and then you'll get back into that corner.
There's some about 13 fleet with...
I think that's our leader, isn't it?
Cybertech
Group.
Yep.
Yeah, and it looks like Harkin 13 still in
I think they've dropped.
potential second.
I think they'll be back in third with the Sal Media pushing up into second.
Sal Media have done really well.
The Imey and the 16, back to the 16s, they've done well in splitting with them here. They're getting different pressure. They're throwing something at them because the MCC sort of had to cover off the Imagine signage. It's allowed them to get a bit of gauge and ask some questions, make them look around.
Yeah, and I think after last race with that battle to the finish with Imey, I think this time they're choosing their own lane, picking the pressure that they want to be in rather than fighting with someone else.
So if we have a look on screen here, you could get quite aggressive here. Do a jibe on top, try and keep yourself bow forward. Well, I called them on starboard. Sail them out past lay, Jimmy, you reckon?
We did that to
Brighton's
back in the day.
Here we go. Start doing some turns.
There we go.
I'll tell you what, for a protest room, Piers on the drone couldn't have got a better away shot than that one.
So for our viewers at home that may not know the rules too well, Imey did come in on starboard tack, so they had right of way to do that. So forcing MCC to a jibe was a tactical move to try and put a bit of pressure on and get out in the lead.
And then there was a little bit of contact shortly after that.
Yeah.
Wait, what? There's rules.
I think I'm a little bit surprised that MCC didn't drop their chute instantly and do a spin there.
Yeah, and I'm doing a pretty early drop here.
Or maybe
I'm letting Imagine in.
Yeah, just allowing Imagine to catch up. But I guess they're playing it safe if they can trust their upwind tactics and can get around this mark as leaders. Then
this is really tightened up here,
very
hasn't
tight,
it?
yeah. With Moonen catching up as well.
Just, yeah.
That Moonen's been slick down, like off a breeze, all year, or even last year. It was electric.
I think what we've learned from this, though, is the MCC is the rocket ship uphill, but perhaps they've sacrificed something a little bit because they don't seem to have the wheels downwind that these other three boats do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's a rig setup thing or something like that, or if it's just something that they haven't quite clicked with yet.
Yeah.
Because, I'll tell you what, they're untouchable upwind. The downwind, they're sort of losing whatever they've gained each time.
Yeah, although they're in a pretty tricky spot at the moment, MCC. They're not in great air. I don't think they're liking where they are.
I think this breeze has gone further right too.
Yeah, definitely. They're pointing a lot higher than they were the last few times. But all of them in some nice waves there that they'll be driving the boat hard on.
The problem with the MCC in this situation too is because they do like to sail a slightly lower mode than the other guys.
Yeah.
There's no way to clear their air. If you come round and you've got a good high groove, you can jump out. So it makes it a lot more difficult for them to find that. And I think attack out at the moment's dead.
You can see them there using this powerboat wash that's gone past them, surfing the waves, like the technique that's involved in it, like, you know, Moonen, that's just to the right of that shot there, he probably gained, I reckon, about 5-6 boat lengths to windward then, just off one wave. So, you know, it's quite an incredible technique to watch.
You can sort of, with these waves, especially running in here, sometimes if you get the right one, you almost end up standing on the side. And the thing just keeps on going and you just sit in that little groove.
Yeah.
However, the big problem is sometimes it can get a little bit too far the wrong way and you just end up chasing it forever. Because the actual way that you get onto waves, it tends to be in this, is you pump on and you actually squeeze into it because it unloads the back of the boat. Pushes the bow down and you get onto it. It's a little bit counterintuitive sometimes.
Yeah, we've just had dual taxi from Imi and Imagine. With a bit more right in this breeze now, they've got a bit more flexibility heading in further to these rocks, which is more what we're used to on an Or East course.
They allowed inside that one, Jimmy?
Yes,
that
mate.
one?
Yep.
They are. We've removed all of them from the course.
It's not removed, it's skipper's discretion. You always were allowed to sail around all of them.
Oh, there was one course that said you had to stay to starboard.
Yeah, I know. That's the set of rules that I wrote out for you, of courses, and gave to you. Different set for the Suitec, mate.
Is that why I always saw you going in there and I'd be yelling at you?
Advantages of being race secretary back in the day. You just have been one copy for one boat and go, there you go. It always gave you an out. No, just jokes.
I thought you would have given that to Clint back in the day.
I was trying to teach you a thing or two. Clint out our number for many years, mate. So
yeah, that fluid boat in an Or-Easter was something special back in the day.
it was an awesome feeling when you actually beat fluid in an Or-Easter. Finally, like it was a big relief. We really felt like we were coming of age at that point in time.
So
Right, I'm just putting a tack in to starboard to head back into the rocks.
there's a fair bit of separation between the boats, though, isn't there? It's sort of not what you'd expect. You'd sort of feel there'd be a little bit of covering happening and stuff. Everyone just seems to be... I don't know if it's the wind pressure down this end of the course where they're all just sort of trying to use their speed, or everybody's got a different view of the course. I'm not sure. Just behind Moonen again. Pull some bang on, Ruffy.
Don't think he's got the earpiece in.
I think almost got my phone out and take a photo. But I think that could fix his upwind speed problems a little bit. Here we have the Imey pushing hard into these rocks again. They're almost rinse and repeat from what they did last time. The unfortunate thing for everyone here is that the MCC has managed to get into some clear air. And if they can keep to this pressure, I think they could really push forward here, just how much speed we saw on them last time. Especially if Imey and Imagine Signage start doing a bit of, have a chucking duel, engage with each other as they did down the last run. Well, not the nicest stack there on the MCC, but they've recovered extremely well.
Imey not on screen, just having a bit of trouble with a
cruising yacht.
Saturday sailor.
Did Chris tack with the main through there, or does the skipper go through with it for him?
Keep an eye on it, Paulie.
What? Oh.
You were the sort of guy that Ruffy would take it through for you, wouldn't you?
Yeah, anything I didn't have to do, I didn't. No, I tacked with the main. It was the perfect weight. When you hook up on wire, you can hold your arm straight. It just goes out with you, and it's perfect. And then I got fat, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I can see these tactics playing in now with Imey just putting another tack in. Imagine have just tacked off the rocks off screen, and MCC following Imey out a little bit further to the right.
It'll be interesting to see if MCC and Imagine Signage try and do a split themselves on Imey here and really make them try and decide where they're going to go. If they both go the same way, I think it's they can just lock them in and just do a loose cover on them the whole time and make them follow them to the finish. It'd be nice if they ask some questions, especially for us watching at home. There we have our national title winning boat continuing their good form. Youngest person skipper to win a national title, was it, Jimmy?
Yes, indeed. 16 years of age.
So really, when I started sailing these things, it sounds like I was past my prime. 19 was a bit late.
Doz won with us when he was 18, so...
Doz did?
Yeah.
It seems to be, though, these sort of more experienced older crews are grabbing a lot of these young skippers, and it sort of gets that weight out the back of the boat, and it means that you can swing a bit more on wire. I mean, he's also extremely talented, obviously.
Good pedigree.
Yeah.
But
I think that boat's got some of the best pedigree you've ever seen together, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, he's you got to think like Joel's younger than Rob Napper's kids, some of his kids. So put that into perspective.
He's probably sailed against Rob Napper's kids.
Correct.
But if we have a look this year at the two major championships, we had a 18-year-old win the States and a 16-year-old win the Nationals. It's very impressive. It's a very good sign for the class too. And it also allows some of these older guys to keep on going around whilst putting on a tiny bit more weight. So Imagine here just looks quite happy just to lock away the MCC, don't they? We'll probably see here that
just got Imey on screen there.
With the Red Pumps 13.
With our Red Pumps 13-foot skip, yep.
Did we manage to see who won the 13s, Jess?
I
missed it.
Missed it as well. Sorry for our viewers at home who are following the 13s.
Look, I think just based on the way they're going into the boats, it looks like Cybertech Group first, Harkin second, and Sound Media third. But that will have to be confirmed afterwards. See, we have the Imey and the Red Pumps. It's nice. The speed comparison there is nice, isn't it? Like, when they're in the same pressure, they're not doing too much different to each other, but then the Imey just grabs that little gust above them and they take off.
Yeah, and also downwind, our 16s do go a bit faster downwind, but more just the angle that you get with the bigger kite, they're running a lot deeper downwind compared to our 13s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Amy here, that's our top mark, but that's not where they're going. They're going to the finish, so they've got a bit more room to head into the left.
They're just tacking off, covering off Imagine signage.
And there is our Matana, our finished boat. As you can see, they're a little bit dunking in the water. It is pretty fluky.
You can tell just with the variable pressure that generally if it was just lighter consistently, the guys would have pulled themselves up.
Yeah.
They're still not super low, but they've still got it because they go in the gusts. We still do need that power. The other thing you notice on the Army very well, then both crew bend in together. One of them's not staying out, locked legs and that kind of thing. Keeping that body weight close together is a real advantage. Here they come in, just giving a 13 a little nudge over the line. So first and a second for Army today. Very well sailed.
Yeah,
We thought they'd be happy with a second and a second down that run, but they've managed to get there first.
Yeah, so Imagine signage coming in second, so also a first and a second for them today.
Yeah. And then the MCC coming in behind. Sort of just got a little bit, the pressure got to them down the bottom of that run. And the Army managed to get them into a hard position. And they just got caught out.
Yeah, but still a very, very good race from the MCC.
Yeah.
Unfortunate about race one for them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out what the problem is, obviously.
Pizza's coming slow at Hugo's or something like that, do you reckon, Jimmy?
Yeah, the margaritas were delayed at Hugo's.
Yeah, although they do get a drop after today, so MCC will be dropping their first race, but it does mean for the rest of the series they don't want to make any more mistakes.
Is it a 9-race series? I think they might get two drops, don't they?
The Nationals was
one.
one.
But I remember when only two.
You're asking me about rules, Paulie. I think you're asking the wrong person.
Me thinking about them's the wrong thing too, Jimmy.
Right, and there's Moonen just crossing the line in fourth position.
So a good day for them, third and a fourth. I think they'll still be a little bit disappointed in that first race. Ruffy should go back and watch a bit of this footage and have a look at that sail shape.
And here comes Red Prompts Red, proving that they can have consistent results up the top end of the fleet. So well done to them in fifth position.
Well done, Ben Lamb. I think it could be his first time on a 16 today. A couple of top 5 finishes, very impressive.
And the leaders of the Dransfield Cup between...
Hey, they've given them a real touch-up today, haven't they?
I also have heard that the Keg Cup has started today, so that's our boats in handicap. A select few boats get put in the draw for the Keg Cup.
I've never been involved with it, but I'm very interested in it because it sounds like it involves drinking copious amounts of schooners at some point.
The Keg Cup parties are very good. I've never been involved in the Keg Cup. But...
Okay. Coming through, we had the Botany after their really nice start. They pushed back a little bit, closely followed by the Davis Marine. And then we got 213s, the Fluid coming in here. They've made a lot of gains this year, the Fluid. I think it's their first year sailing the 13-foot skiff. I know they had a lot of fun up at the Nationals. So their Coach King was up there with them.
Yeah, and we've just got Sutek 16-foot skiff coming across the line.
It's
AWOL the 13, number 44.
We've got a bit of a gap back to the next boats here, don't we? It seems to have extended out. I think we're sort of hitting the ones that have swum back here, aren't we? Because we know we saw red pumps go down. And there's the Botany. I think with young Wilmont and Big Will Dargaville on that boat, they would have expected to have done a little bit better today.
Yeah, I would have thought so, but...
It's sort of new combination. They haven't sailed together in a while. Just would have... I know that they were super quick back in their growth built days. I got to sail a little bit with Ryan last year as well. Very, very good. And here we have the red pumps after their little incident at the bottom mark. Dipping Greg in the water. He won't be too happy. It's a tough day here with these short races too, where you have a swim and you're just deep afterwards.
Yeah, and boat morale goes down and it's hard to get back.
It's also hard for us larger blokes to get back into the boat sometimes. They like to do the roll it into windward for me and roll in like a whale.
Whatever works, Paulie. It's, as long as you're back in there.
The secret was not to capsize, Jimmy.
This is very true.
So
you know, well, especially at the moment, they've got blue-ringed octopuses down at Balmoral that are stinging people. So,
aye. It's good enough reason for me to stay away from Balmoral.
Correct.
So Botany Access coming through here. Red Pumps looking to do one last tack. I think, Jess, as you said, just the body language on that boat, it does look like morale is quite low.
Potentially given up and they're just going to cross the line and go in and forget about it until next week.
There's going to be a few rum bottles getting a workout this afternoon. Alrighty. Next boat in, the Bartley with the Typhoon. Couple of looks like all the 13s have managed to get through.
I think the only one I can still see out is the Kitchen Maker 13, just past the Matana, but there's one of the prettier boats on the harbour, the Bartley Constructions, very nice boat.
Yeah, they've done really well this season, getting it all schmicked up.
So, well, I think what we might do, we might wrap it up from here at Manly 16ft Skiff Club. Heats 5 and 6 of the club championships for 22, geez, I'm taking this way back, 2024-25 season. Thank you very much for everyone for tuning in, and huge thanks to Paul and huge thanks to Jess, who I've finally managed to track down. I was wondering whether I had to get...
Sounds like you've got to change your number again, Jess.
Looks like I've got to get Interpol involved. But there's g'day to everyone over there at the mighty Manly 16ft Skiff Club, and hope you're enjoying your afternoon in the sun. It's one of the nicest places in Sydney to have a beer in the afternoon. So
I'd say so.
No, thank you very much for everyone for tuning in. Thanks to all the team here on board. It's been a pleasure bringing another club championship heat to the viewers, and we'll see everyone on the 23rd of March for the next club championship, and I'll start working on locking Jess in now for that date. So, but yeah, this has been a Sail Media production for Manly 16ft Skiff Club.